Hi, I'm Carl Stabe of Domino Connection. Thanks for being here today. Today we have Jim Balacera of Successful Thinkers Network, and he's fantastic. I've seen interviews with him before, and I just had to get him on. Thanks for being with us today.
Oh, your pleasure. My pleasure, actually. Your pleasure, my pleasure.
It's my pleasure too. Yeah, tell us a little bit about your background and how you got started.
Well, back in my early days, in my early 20s, mid 20s, I was a licensed general contractor and I built homes, remodeled homes, and I decided I want to reinvent myself after getting injured. And I got what I call the people business, the direct sales, and spent 22 years with one company and built an organization over 100,000 people. And I realized I built two major training organizations within that structure and moved on, left that company to, actually sold my business and went on to another company and started all over again from scratch and ended up building myself with one of the number one training companies in the world, trained more people through, it's called Black Diamond University. And, uh, and then got done with all of the politics with that company and decided to reinvent myself and start Successful Thinkers as people see it today. But
Cool.
it's not what it's going to be tomorrow.
It's so important to have that right mindset when you start or build a relationship with anybody. So I guess let's start there. What is that mindset, and what does that look like?
Well, I wrote a book, lesson book called Within the Millionaire Mind. The mindset, in order to be successful, whether it's to make a lot of money or start a company or start a nonprofit or be just successful in any endeavor, you have to have the mindset. And so the mindset starts with obviously the why. You've heard this, I'm sure, in every one of your conversations. But without that, fueling the fire, the rest isn't going to happen. But once you've got that dialed in, then the next step is going to be, what's your plan of attack? What are the steps you're going to take? What are you willing to sacrifice to get where you want to go? Um, you know, and what are the incremental things that you're going to do? That way, everybody calls them goals, but what are those things? What do they look like? What do they sound like? What are the rewards in the process? And the mindset is it's the key because no matter how painful a journey is, the price has to be worth the prize. And I could talk about this all day long because this is, I've been through this journey multiple times throughout my entire life. I've only had one job when I was 18 to 19, and from there I've been self-employed and a consultant for other companies. So, you just got to believe in yourself.
So I guess let's take a step back and look at you and what have you given up to kind of get to where you're at?
In every case, I've given up everything. I've made major sacrifices. This is, like I said, the prize has to be worth the price, and, you know, uh, it's funny because people they see that I've lived in a 9,000 square foot house. I've traveled around the world. I've had the life that a lot of people will never, ever experience. And yet, when you decide to start again, you have to be willing to risk all of it. And I've done that. I'm a risk taker. Um, so I'm not sure where you want me to go with this question.
So yeah, let's go that risk taker and the fact that your personality type are. Do you feel like some people aren't meant to be risk takers and do this, or do you feel
No,
everybody has it in them?
I, well, I don't. I assume that not everybody has it in them. I think they're afraid of risk. They're afraid of the price that they're going to pay to get there, or they don't believe they'll get there, so they're not willing to take the risk. I mean, it's funny. I look at people that gamble. They actually gamble dollars, at the casinos, and they have no problem with it. But when it comes to risking a better life, they won't even do it.
Yeah.
Um, it's just kind of I don't know. It's just kind of confusing to me because they'll risk over here, but they won't, they won't risk, a better life. I just don't get it.
Well, I kind of look at you always look at your own situation and you look at it's always calculated risk. And like, yeah, if you lose $200, you're kind of like, well, that's not the end of my world. But it's
Oh,
almost
but
like if
it
you,
affects their world. It totally affects their world because a lot of the people I know that gamble, and they really enjoy it. Um, there are those who are calculators, though. You're correct in that. But a lot of them don't. They'll take $200, $1,000, and they'll, if it doesn't work out, they'll put in some more money, and then when it's all said and done, they look at what they did, and now they're paying the price for that mistake when it comes to gambling.
Yeah.
And I don't know, I look at life as a gamble, anyways, right?
Yeah, and I guess I was trying to get there in the fact that I own my own business, and it does take a lot of risks. And to me, it was worth it. But I can see that, like, it's almost like if you fail, you're embarrassed. But if you lose $200 gambling, there's no embarrassment there. It's less emotional.
Oh, that's a good point. That's a good point. But you have to get past embarrassment to succeed. I mean, in every case, when I started my companies, actually, let me go back 30, 32 years. I'll never forget this. When I decided to get in the people industry, direct sales, my friends really laughed at me and thought I would never succeed at because I wasn't a salesperson. I was a carpenter. I was a construction guy. I was a blue collar guy forever. And and I went through 4+ years of no one really knowing what I'm doing. They were just assuming. So they had their opinion, and of course with the people that I originally hung out with, they like to share their opinion about it. But once the victory happened, of course it was like, oh, if anybody was going to do it, Jim, it was you. And I had said, where were you when I needed you to tell me I could do it? And so that was actually a really important part of my life, because had I not gone through those 4 years of really just struggling to get where I wanted to go, and nobody knowing, nobody really caring, to be honest with you, I realized that it was really in my mind what mattered, not what they said, because they really didn't care anyways, because they weren't there to encourage me. And when I made it, they certainly weren't there saying, hey, proud of you, Jim. And so, we have to do something inside our own head. We have to decide, what people say really matter, or do what we want to accomplish with our life matter? Which is more important?
And that's coming back to that mindset. How do you create that mindset?
It's a decision.
Yeah.
It's always a decision.
Yeah.
But you've got to read, you've got to hang around people that are going to influence you in the positive mindset. If you have people that are pulling you down, you have to separate yourself from them. If you don't, then you're going to get what you get. And I made a decision years ago when I understood that I was going to surround myself with people that were lifting me up, people that were edifying me, people that were encouraging me, and separate myself from the people that were the exact opposite.
So let's get there, and a little bit about your business, I guess, too. Is how do you surround yourself with people like that? How do you find them?
Well, in my current business, Successful Thinkers, is kind of easy because you're surrounded with people that want to succeed. They're an entrepreneur. They're trying to get to a better place in their life. They're chasing their dreams. So, actually, become a successful thinker, become a part of that journey. You're going to surround yourself with people that actually will be an encourager for you. In fact, it's part of our 8 steps. Or 9 steps actually. It's one of the things I talk about is positive edification of other people, and we teach that at every one of our events, and we do this every week, everywhere.
Cool, and it makes a good point, because if people are pushing you a little bit to push outside your comfort zone, you're dealing with your fear as well as growing who you are.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, if you don't stretch, right, you can't get past where you are, right?
Yeah. But how do you deal with that fear? How do you start to lean into that?
You ready?
Yeah.
Are you ready?
I'm ready.
When fear knocks, answer it. That's the answer. Because if you don't answer fear, it'll always hold you back.
Yeah.
It can't get any simpler than that.
Yeah. So it's listening to that inner voice and saying, "Hey, I need to do this. You gotta jump on board."
Yeah, I mean, it's like the ship's leaving. You got to go with it, or are you gonna still keep contemplating whether it's the right timing?
Yeah. Yeah.
Let me share something with you. Back when I first launched my career 32 years ago, I was so afraid of my own shadow and afraid of talking to people and trying to convince people to do what I'm doing, because I was a blue collar guy, right? I used to go, back then we didn't have cell phones, and so I would go into my my bathroom and I'd take the cord. The cord was stretchable up to 25 feet, right? And I would dial the number, go into my bathroom, turn the light off so I wouldn't see myself in the mirror, and I'd make my first outbound phone calls to change my life. But I was so afraid of, what people thought or what I looked like or what would happen if I said the wrong thing. I didn't want to see myself in the mirror. And I just turned the light off and started my conversations and started making things happen. And once I got past that, of course, it started getting easier and easier and easier and easier. And now I don't care who I talk to, because one thing I know, I don't care if they're poor, they're middle class, or they're millionaire or they're a billionaire, they put their pants on the same way. You know what? And they have fears too. And they started somewhere, unless they inherited it, they started where everybody else starts, at the
Yeah.
bottom.
Yeah. And in some of it's those people though that, truly not ignore fear, but accept it and go for it. And if you surround yourself with people like that, it's the old adage, if you surround yourself with heavy set people who eat too much, you end up doing that too.
Well, yeah. Well, and what a lot of people don't know about my vision with successful thinkers is I want it in every community in the nation and around the world, so that people like you, like me, that have a dream, have a passion to pursue a better way, a better life, regardless of how big it is, that they can find somebody that's a cheerleader, encourager, an accountability partner, people that will be a participant in helping them get where they want to go versus knocking them down.
Yeah.
And this is very real. I mean, that's we're well on our way to making the En-ROADS happen even bigger, because over 4+ years now we've opened over 200 chapters around the country. Over 100,000 people come through it, so we know it's right.
Cool. So, uh, you know, let's kind of dig a little bit. What is that secret that allows you to kind of embrace this and start taking those baby steps to reach your goals?
I don't think it's a secret. I think it's a determination. I think it's you got to get past that thing. Do I believe I'm worthy? Right? Because if you don't believe you're worthy, then you're not going to do it. I mean, we can get real philosophical here if we want, but I'm a blue collar guy, right? I'm a real layman type of an individual. I take things at face value, and bottom line is I have to make a decision. My first decision is, do I believe I am worth it? The second one is, do I believe I can do it? The third one is, do I believe I'm going to get there? And the good thing is that life is like eating an elephant one bite at a time. So fortunately, no matter how big of a dream you have, no matter how much you have to do to get there, you don't really know how much it is. So as long as you're just chipping away every day, you're not overwhelmed at the monumental task to really get there. And because we're focused just what's in front of us, and it's not as scary.
Yeah.
But you just got to believe that you can get to. You ever hear about the rubber band? You stretch the rubber band, never goes back to its original state.
Mm-mm.
Yeah. Well, it's been in books for years. But bottom line, whenever you stretch a rubber band, it never really completely goes back to its original state. And Robert Schuller, do you know who Robert Schuller is?
Never heard of him. No.
He's a pastor out of Southern California, and he's written many books. And one of the books is called Peak to Peak. And in that book, he talks about setting your goals and achieving your dreams, right? He says, but what it really boils down to is achieving a goal where that you know that you can achieve. I don't care how big it is or how small it might be for somebody else. But once you achieve that, you've reached that peak. So now you can set another goal to reach another peak. And you continue to climb your way to wherever it is that you're going in your life. So you don't focus on all the things that are going on in between here and there. You focus on the ones that are achievable. And when you get there, it's kind of like being on top of a mountain. You're victorious.
Mm-hmm.
So okay, I did that. I can do the next one.
Yeah. So a lot of what I started my business in the work happiness area, so I know a lot about failure, and it's tough to kind of teach people a lot of these concepts because we're so goal oriented, we forget about the big picture. So this is always the toughest question I have. But what do you think's the secret to happiness?
It's relative to whatever your dreams are. I mean, if you want to.
How about for you?
Well, I think it's different for me than for other people. I mean, well, let me put it this way. I read an article in the USA Today newspaper several years ago when I was flying. I fly a lot. And, and it was talking about our life. Okay. when you're young, you're thinking about, going through school, getting and graduating. Eventually, you're thinking about getting married and having kids and buying a house and, getting a good career. All that's a process. And we all think that each one of those steps is part of happiness. So we've got our children, we've got our house, we've got hopefully a good career. And we just continue on the path. But our life changes constantly. Our thought process, the things that we think is going to make us happy, will change based on what we think happiness is. For me, happiness is having a great woman. It's building relationships. It's knowing that I'm going to encourage other people and they're going to do more than they would normally do. It's not about making a lot of money for me. I'll make millions, but it's not the money. Happiness is making an impact. It's making a difference. And that article went on to say that when people reach the age of 50, they generally their focus is no longer the things I just mentioned. It's really about doing something that might leave a legacy or that it's going to make an impact versus just chasing that thing that we want. We think we want. I say we think we want because it's all what we think, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So if I could sum it up, it's really about the journey within each stage that you're in.
Mm-hmm. That's exactly right. It's always the journey.
Yeah.
And you can live in a bedroom and knowing and while and doing everything that you need to do to get to your dream, and it doesn't matter that you live in a bedroom because that's all you can afford for the moment, because your focus is where you're going, right? And the goals that you're setting for yourself. Life's interesting, and it's how old are you?
37.
37. I'm 56, and so we both have two different mindsets about life and our journey, where we're going. Are you married?
Yes.
Kids?
I have one kid. Yeah.
Boy, girl?
Boy.
Boy. How
4
old is
years old.
4 years. That's awesome, man.
Yeah. Yeah. He's
awesome.
Great.
That's happiness. I mean, every time I see the pictures of my kids, when they were little, it's like I well up inside, and when talking to my kids, I get excited about where their dreams and their goals. A lot of things create happiness.
Yeah.
As long as we don't focus on all the negative. That's what I was trying to say, is that if someone's got a dream and they're trying to get where they want to go and they've lost everything, they could be really sad about how tough it is and how bad it is. But if they've got something positive in front of them, then they don't see their surroundings. It doesn't bother them because their focus is on the things that really do make them happy. Does that make sense?
Yeah. And it comes back to the mindset again and focusing on those positives.
Yeah, people just, unfortunately, a lot of people get into drugs or alcohol because they're focused on where they are rather than doing something about it or having something exciting to chase after. Yeah. I don't need to get drunk. I don't need to do drugs to get high. I get high on life,
Yeah. And I think, like you said, like at every stage we have to kind of figure things out, and it's kind of listening to that voice inside your head. And yeah, if it's saying, hey, don't you think you need a drink, or don't you think you need to go do this, when in reality you really don't.
Have you ever do you watch the shows like American Idol, Voice, America's Got Talent, X Factor? Do you ever watch any of those?
I've seen them, but I don't really get into them. But yeah.
Let me share something with you. Each one of those people that end up on those stages, they have a passion, they have a dream, and they range anywhere from just little girls, boys, ages, maybe 10 to 50 plus. And it's really cute to see the really young superstars, these kids that just have these amazing talents and voices and ability to play pianos and stuff like that. But I want to forget them for the moment. I look at the people that are, late 30s, early 40s, mid 40s, hit 50-ish, and they still have their dream. They still have a dream of singing or performing or acting or doing something, man. Their whole life, they chased that dream. They never gave up. And they look at that stage, whether it's Voice or American Idol or whatever, they look at that stage as that one last chance to make it, man, and they'll do everything they can to get there. Mm-hmm. And I'm going to tell you something. We have to have that. We have to have that hope. We have to have that one last chance. We have to believe that we have that one last chance over and over and over again. And again, it's different for everybody, whatever it is.
Yeah. And it's not easy. Like you said, there's a lot of fear wrapped up in your dreams, and every time you fail, at least for me, a little piece dies, but something else grows inside at the same time. And to me,
Let me
that's what. Go ahead.
let me share something with you. Let's get past that. When you One of the things I teach is a book, is to read constantly, and some of the books, a lot of the books that people are going to read that make them change their life. It's not the goal setting books. It's not the books about theory and how you can be better at something, so on and so forth. It's the autobiographies. It's the books about life. It's about other people who struggled, failed, picked themselves back up and did it again and did it again and did it again until finally they were victorious. When I watch all these shows that I just mentioned, Voice, X Factor, I don't watch them all, but I wish I could. I record whatever ones that I get recorded, but I'll go to YouTube, and I'm going to challenge you to do this. Go to YouTube and 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 look at some of this, because they're only 8 minutes at the most, and they do this little uh, interview before they sing on stage and after they sing on stage. And I'm going to tell you what, that 8 minutes will tear you up, because what you've seen is somebody who's so passionate, so excited. It could be somebody who's lived on the streets, and then I'm not joking. Someone who's lived on the streets and somebody encouraged them to go in, and boom, they belted out a song that just blew everybody's mind. And when they wrap the story in with their talent, what they're really doing is they're saying, hey, all of you people out there that have a dream, look at what he or she went through. And if they can do it and they can get back up, so can you. I get really passionate about this stuff. I'll watch, 10, 15 of those videos from YouTube. And sometimes I'll even go back to some of the old ones that I've seen, because they bring me back to say, hey, what's my excuse? Is it really that bad? I've got both my hands, I've got both my feet, I've got my mind, I've got my heart. I'm still somewhat healthy, right? And you see what some of these people. Do you know who Nick is? The guy with no arms and no legs.
Yeah, I've seen him. I've seen a YouTube clip of him.
Hmm. I saw him speak at my church several years ago, and then from there I just kind of followed him on YouTube. But it's like he's happy, he's content. He says he wouldn't have had it any other way.
Yeah.
When you can see someone who is living in their own skin, dealing with the life that they were dealt with, it causes you to stop focusing on your problems and say, look, I got to keep going, man. I got to keep moving forward.
Mm-hmm.
Because he just took my excuses away.
Yeah.
All you have to do is either watch somebody on TV like that, or watch them on YouTube, or read their autobiography, and
Get excited about. Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah. Cool. Well, thank you so much. This has been fantastic.
Right. Well, it was my pleasure. And I'm glad that you took the time to reach out to me. And, we look forward to getting to know you a little bit more, whether it's through emails or whatever. But great thing that you're doing. Keep encouraging people, and keep chasing your dream.
Thanks. And people can find you where? Successful Thinkers?
SuccessfulThinkersNetwork.com. But SuccessfulThinkers.com will take you there too. Or they can go to my personal website, JimBellicero.com. And my email is Jim, B as in boy, at yesitworks.com.
Great. Thanks so much.
All right. Have a great day.